right, I'm here on episode number 2 of All In, and today my guest is Derpo, who is one of the best players in the mod that we're going to be talking about for the next who knows how long, Derpo. Half hour, hour? We're going to be talking about Hero Arena 3v3. So the first thing that I liked about Hero Arena 3v3 is it is an arena shooter game, not in the sense of, battle, right? But pretty similar. You pick a hero, you get a team of 2 or 3 or maybe even 1v1 and you go face off against other people. I've done a couple of videos on the Hero Arena GVG series for that. So what got you into Hero Arena 3v3? Why did you stick around and start enjoying this?
Alright, I can thank my good buddy Frenzy Inbound for getting me into the game, and I know it just sort of stuck. I like the idea of oh, my mind's drawing a blank. Oh god.
Well, for me, part of it is the combat,
Yeah.
right? I like, for example, here's a secret I don't tell other people because I've really, played a lot of
You use hack.
too. I got to dive into that. I like the team fighting aspect of League of Legends and other MOBA games, but that's a lot of gameplay to get through to get to that point. I like in Hero Arena, you just kind of start doing that.
Yeah.
Is that a little bit what you were getting into with it, or is there maybe something more?
Yeah, it's no, that's about it. I've always been drawn towards like the team-based games where one person has a role, another person has another role, and you all just sort of work together and try to defeat the enemy team and whoever's skilled. Or in this case, whichever team has Reaper and they win, which is complete.
So you actually said 2 interesting things there that I want to get into, because as someone who mostly up to this point played 1v1 games, what I like too about the mod is that team component. And you said something which I think is important. I haven't seen many other people talk about Hero Arena 3v3, if they do at all, right, in this way, which is about roles. So you have 40-something heroes. You don't just pick random 3 heroes and go? How do you model it?
So I normally like model and group my heroes per people based on their abilities and their, like I put Knight and King Paladin. I put him as sort of like a tank support dude. And what's his name?
Maybe you're thinking of Lifestealer, or is he more of a DPS?
I've never played Lifestealer, but I'd imagine based on his name that he'd be sort of like, I guess, he'd be tanky as long as he'd get his damage and get that lifesteal. But if he's getting like kited around, like attacked from afar where you can't get his damage in, then he's not going to be tanky.
So you've got tanks as the first role. So do you like playing these kind of tanky people where your job is to go in the front line, get bullied a little bit, and then maybe run back and get health or something like that? Is that actually interesting to you? Because based on the heroes I've seen you play, it doesn't seem like that's something you'll do,
Yeah.
or that you
No,
enjoy.
I do not enjoy doing that.
I think the most egregious example of a tank has to be anything that spawns more free units. So I'm thinking, for example, of the King,
Yeah.
who is a terrible tank by himself, but the ability to make infinite free archers and soldiers that will die anyways is pretty good.
Yeah, I guess actually Lord of Darkness could actually be a good tank because he can spawn all those skeletons and the juggernauts.
Lord of Darkness is interesting because I actually think of him more as a carry, and I mean in the League of Legends sense carry, as in it's getting to the end of the game, you want this hero to be left alive. That seems like something you're more interested in than these tanky players or these tanky heroes. So do you think that there is a carry role? Like what, and if you do, what heroes do you like for it?
Yeah, I most definitely think there's a carry role, and Virus is definitely one of them. Because if you leave Virus alone long enough, he's just going to cover half the map and destroy you while he lags everybody.
Destroyed in and out of game. Nice.
But virus, while being a carry, is also really annoying. Because since you don't know what the enemy team is, you have to either scout or guess what your opponent goes.
Yeah, so the fact that you don't know in that fog of war component does make some much more powerful. I mean, another carry, maybe you disagree. I would actually stick the Lord of Darkness in as a carry hero because he can make invisible units. He slowly regenerates his health. There's no life bar, there's no time to live left on all of his units, so we can just keep making them. Who else? Let's see. I would put Sans on there. Recently, I saw you playing a lot with the Monk. Do you think the Monk is a carry hero, or is it just kind of a fun pickup?
I would put the Monk as sort of a damage deal. Like, he does massive DPS, but he doesn't get stronger as the game goes on. He's sort of just there.
So the difference for you, see, this is interesting because I had always, to myself, if something has high DPS, that is the thing that you would want to be left alive at the end of a 3v3 or a 2v2. So that to me would become the carry. But you actually make a difference between them? What actually splits in your mind a carry? Like something you want to save to the end to just DPS, to just the ability to do damage?
Right, well, a carry, in my opinion, is someone who either starts off weak or okay and then gets stronger as the game progresses. Therefore, like, you want to protect the carry in the early, but in the late game, they're carrying the whole team because they're a 320-pound Reaper.
Okay, so you've mentioned the Reaper twice. We're gonna get to like what do you think about overall? Are there any OP heroes, like things that are just flatly terrible, things of that nature? But before we go into final role, so is the Reaper just that great of a unit, just that great of a hero that it can do all of these? It can DPS, it can tank. Is the best team just 3 Reapers?
I would say 3 Reapers is a good team. It's actually a great team because Reaper has a teleport ability. It can teleport out of spawn before the barriers are down, walk over to your base before the barriers are down, and get a few shots off with its ammo system.
Yeah.
And its teleport serves as like a great escape. So let's say someone like who has an ability that's not heat seeking?
Sans.
Sans.
And Sans is a great example, actually. The Reaper, I would think, shuts him down pretty well because of some of what you're talking about.
Yeah, he does a lot of damage.
Okay, so the final role, as I conceptualize it, maybe you think there's another one, or maybe even another 2 or 3. I want to get your take on it. For me, it has to be the support. Now, I could break down support twice after this. How do you just see support as all one big family of a role, or is there a scale from DPS to carry to something to support? Like, what do you think? What makes a good support? Why not just have 3 DPSs, you know?
I come from a background of RPGs, and a support is either the healer or the person who puts shields on people. But moving to here,
okay, so
I can see that supports also are people that, like, the guy who puts down wards. He put down vision wards.
Yeah, the revealer.
Put down.
So you're thinking more traditionally, a support are things like the revealer, like maybe the mediator because he gives mana,
medic,
maybe the medic because he gives health.
I don't think there's anyone who gives debuffs like slow or armor reduction.
Well, what's great about the medic is that it can do that too. It can buff speed and it can debuff your opponent's speed, or it can poison them. There are a lot of heroes that have a utility aspect where they can stun someone that they're locked onto, but I think those are more utility, you know, not support outright. But is that just it? Like, so you said before you came in, you know, you thought you give shields or you give health or you give mana, that's what makes you a support. Are there any other surprises like the revealer who you think are actually pretty strong or pretty useful, but support in a different way?
I might say paladin on that one.
Really? Okay. That is not how I think about it at all. So what about the paladin actually makes him a good support, as opposed to, a tank? Because he can heal himself a little bit, right? I mean,
I mean,
that sounds like
he's sort
something
of
you
like
would
a mix
want.
between like a tank and a support, as I would say.
Like what, for me in RPGs, you would call an off tank, not a tank who can take a whole bunch of damage, but maybe a tank who has low hit points, but he can never be
Yeah.
hit or something like that. So to you, is it a scale? Like, for example, I put Dragonfire actually as a support because I don't have in my mental model a DPS role. I just have support, carry, and tank. And since there's no DPS, you need more what I think of as aggressive supports. Do you think that's a category that some of these heroes fall into, or do you just see a lot of heroes fall through the cracks? Like, there's 40 something heroes. Do they all fit into defined roles? What do you think?
I would definitely say that most of them fall into defined roles like tanks, DPS, support. But I think there's a few, like maybe one, who doesn't fall into anything.
Okay, so yeah, you can't just leave me with that. So what is the one? You obviously you want to talk about it. You know what you're thinking about. Come on, what's the one that doesn't fit into any roles? Just kind of an accident in the
Reaper.
game.
He's just retarded. He's OP. He's in his own special role.
Nice. So he's like that ranking system that most people use for characters in fighting games, where they have A, B, C, and then, D or F tier. And then there's F at the bottom, which is just unplayably garbage. And then there's S, which is not A, which is not really good, but just a class above, or you like RPGs. Do you like the Pokemon games?
I got bored after Black and White 2 because it was just the same thing over and over again.
Okay. If you had stuck through it, then you would get to see. So I don't know if you follow Smogan at all, but there are people who come up with their own rules for what's fair for competitive battling. And there were a bunch of legendaries in this tier called Uber, over, above, normal use. It's basically a banned list. But now Rayquaza, I'm sure you remember
Yeah.
Rayquaza, it now has its own mega evolution. And so it is just so strong that it actually has invented a new tier above Broken. So you think Reaper is that? You think Reaper is just so far above excellent that it's ridiculous? Is there any team that has no Reapers on it that you would consider a great team?
Yeah, I would say Mediator, Virus, and then someone to like hold off the enemy team and distract them while Virus gets his stuff up and start carrying the team. So maybe someone like Knight or someone fast to like kite the enemy.
Yeah, because for those of you out there who don't know, one of the cool things about Mediator is that it gives mana. But when Virus breaks down into its tombs to reproduce, it does that based on how much mana it has. And it's supposed to do it in such a way that it can only get 2 little viruses out. But if you have the Mediator on that totem pumping it out, you can go from 1, 2, 4, 8, etc. You can go from that to 1, 5, 16, and it just carries really, really quickly. So we've touched a bit on roles and what you think is really strong and whatnot, but as a general high level concept, what would be a good team setup? Like you don't get to name any specific heroes. What would be the setup? Is it
So I'm gonna go back to my World of Warcraft roots and say a tank, a DPS, and a healer or support.
okay?
Or
So
all
all of
Reapers.
these though,
Like, hey.
or all Reapers. So what's interesting though is that so we've talked about the Reaper, and it's one of a couple of heroes that have this ammunition system where it uses mana, and every time that you fire a shot, it takes 1 mana, and then when it has 0 mana left, it has to recharge that back. So there's in other games that I've played, especially competitive ones, you'll see this mostly in fighting games or in things like the Pokemon RPG. If you're battling against someone else, there's the idea of checks and counters. So a counter is something that utterly shuts down something else. Like it gets on the field and it's just, well, you're dead. And then a check is something that says, hey, you might have to change what you're doing now. You can't just run roughshod over with this. So there are things that stun, or like the mediator who's sap, he can also take mana away, or things that have massive range like the assassin. Do you think that there are any good checks for the Reaper?
I would say people with great mobility, because Reaper's attacks, he doesn't really attack, he uses an ability to attack, if that makes any sense. So people with great mobility can just dodge his attacks, and it would make the Reaper have to like really think, should I engage this fight? Where is he going to go? Why don't I have attack ground? This class sucks. Why do people say it's OP?
So it could be shut down. Actually, you can actually be made to feel pretty silly. So we're gonna go on to something that I think plays into all of these roles, which is, it's called Hero Arena 3v3. Is 3v3 the only method really of worth playing? You know, could you play 2v2 or 1v1 and get the same kind of game? Would it, you think, degenerate in any way?
No. I would actually say that 3v3 is the easiest, as long as you have like a semi-decent team and you have communication. Cough, JohnsonYan, you suck. Cough.
Okay, shots fired. All right. Oh man, he's gonna comment on this video so hard. I'm gonna tweet it to him too. So, with that, so, here's the thing. My experience, just as someone, I haven't played in a while, and I don't like 1v1 for Hero Arena, because my sense is that with so many heroes, it's possible to just pick a hero and it doesn't have all of the options necessary. So for example, if you pick a hero that doesn't have AoE and can't see invisible units, and you're up against the Lord of Darkness, you're just going to get killed because you can't see the invisible units. Or if you're playing, you know, someone slow, and you're going up against, I don't know, Sands or Lifestealer, someone who can just get on you, hit you, and never seems to die, that's a problem.
Yeah.
Or we'll talk about side advantage after this, but if someone starts on, like if someone starts with Deceiver or Reaper, someone who can go through the walls from start, then you can't ever contest the high ground, and it just becomes this slag war. So I don't like 1v1, but do you think 2v2 is actually a redeemable way of playing? Is it more, still skillful and less luck based? What do you think?
Thanks. I'd say 2v2 is redeemable, yeah. You wouldn't have like a full team with the full amount of like, let's say counters that you could do. No idea if that's the right term, but I'm a roll. Because with the 3v3, you could have Revealer who can see the invisible. Then you could have either Medic to heal. That's 2 supports. That's a bad team. Don't do it. And maybe Dragonfire. That's 3 supports. Look at that. Dragonfire for like a little bit of damage. But in the 2v2, you only have 2 people. So you only have, let's say, Revealer to reveal. And Virus, which is a bad pick in a 2v2.
Yeah, because as you were mentioning before, even in the 3v3, he really gets unlocked by some very select heroes, and you need someone to tank for you. And 2v3 is a lot more manageable than 1v2, just because of the amount of utility that gets sent out. When I started playing a lot of these in 2v2s, I'll be honest, I thought that the engineer was completely overpowered, and the only thing worse than the engineer was the assassin. So for those of you who don't know, the engineer is only it's kind of based off the Team Fortress 2 engineer. It's only supposed to make a dispenser to heal and one tower, and it can only have one level 1 tower at a time. But you can upgrade that level 1 tower to a level 2 tower, and you can have as many level 2 towers as you want. So once the first tower becomes level 2, you make another level 1 one, and basically you just have an impenetrable fortress of towers, or you have the assassin who is 5 miles away from the screen and still manages to instant kill you. Do you think that a different set of heroes become imbalanced, or do you think they just become a different wheel of viability? Because like you said, Virus goes down drastically from 3v3 to 2v2.
I would say assassin. Wait, assassin's little scout buddy that he can spawn, does it have detection or not? Because I can't remember.
Yeah, it has detection.
Alright, never mind then. Assassin might
On
be
top of
actually
everything
really
else.
good for 1v1. I'd say assassin gets better as it goes down from 3v3 to 2v2 to 1. Simply because it has so much damage and it can detect invisible. And if you're trapped in a corner with like a little tight space, you can spawn your scout and have him use as like a body shield and have him block him and just continue to snipe and assassinate and absolutely destroy.
Some positions like the second high ground on the left side or the center, where, you know, if you don't know how to get up there, but the assassin has massive vision everywhere. The way I think of it is that what 1v1 is when I play 1v1, the problem as I see it is that essentially it's carry versus carry.
Yeah.
You have stripped out the tanks because they can't do enough damage. They're in a supported role. And you strip out the supports because they don't do the DPS, which is the way you think of it, is as DPS, support, tank, carry. Yeah, that's the problem that I see. So let's go past that for something a bit more interesting. So you called out JohnsonYan so hard I could probably find him on Google Maps. Who else? Who do you think is actually good in Hero Arena 3v3? Like, okay, pretend there's a tournament, and it's a 3v3 tournament, and the winner gets money, and I mean real money. Like,
oh boy, alright.
I don't know, like $100 or something like that. You get first pick. You have to pick 3 people, but not you. You're gonna coach this team. So who?
Oh, we're gonna lose instantly. Alright.
Okay.
Even though I called out Johnson, I'm going to pick him because he's actually a pretty decent player, even if he doesn't communicate.
I could see him being the carry, for example. Yeah. You know, just stick him on Frenzy Inbound or something.
He hates
like
Virus.
That, and he'll be fine. So I guess that strategy's out. Okay,
but
it's a pretty good 3v3 strategy.
He's a
right?
pretty good support, I'd say. I've seen him do some pretty good things with medic and player, and that guy who can summon the suicide button.
Yeah, the Frenzy Inbound hero, named after
Frenzy Inbound.
Frenzy Inbound.
Hey.
That's bullshit, by the way, Frenzy Inbound, if you're watching this. Like, how come you get a hero that's named after yourself that spawns sailors? We don't get anything. We don't even get honorable mentions in the description of the map. Come on now. What did you do, man? Okay, so you picked JohnsonYan. Oh,
I'd have to go with Death Squad because I've been 1v1ing him a bit in vanilla LWG, and his micro's pretty. I have a feeling if you give him a pretty, like, a good DPS or micro intensive hero, he'd do pretty good. He's got good communication from what I've seen, and let's just hope he doesn't suck.
So you would want to give him something like Deceiver, where he has to micro it constantly and be all over the map and manipulate battles over and over and over. Okay, so he could probably be your carry. He could be, for example, not a Lord of Darkness or Virus style carry, but or he could tank, you know. Like, his micro's really good if he learns the ranges. Is that what you're banking on? Okay. So we've got JohnsonYan, not yourself, and Death Squad. Taking a chance on Death Squad. It's
Yeah.
okay though. So who is your third person? Like you're gonna probably want a tank, right?
Yeah. I was gonna say McSwiggle, but he sucks. He's really bad at this game.
Wow. Wow, extra callouts. Like we could find JohnsonYan on Google Maps, but we could find McSwiggle on Google Milky Way Galaxy. Damn. Okay. All right, McSwiggle. Look for your aloe vera in the description box below. Okay. So you wouldn't even trust McSwiggle with the tank.
No, he sucks. I'm better than him, obviously.
Okay. You wouldn't even trust him with like, I don't know, something really simple like the guy that spawns a bunch of mini banelings over and over, Sieger. You wouldn't even trust him with Sieger?
No, he sucks. He can't even defeat like a Division 8 if that were a thing.
Okay. Okay. Nice. All right. Oh, McSwiggle, you're up, man. You're up next. Okay, so who would you get though?
I might go with AC because who doesn't want the #1 player? And he could be like our tank. He could be King, where he can summon the get like a little bit of micro because he's good at that. I taught him.
Cool. So we're not even talking about ladder edition or base LittleWarGame, but still AC is, gonna be automatically
Well, I mean,
number
he's
one.
he's good at micro.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
undeniable. Yeah. Like, let me tell you a story, okay? I don't know if anyone else knows this. So I was playing with, I believe it was Glaba, and we were against AC and yourself. You remember?
Yeah,
this,
I did
right?
everything. AC actually went to go get like a smooth. That was all.
Oh, okay. So he took a smoothie break for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. So those wolves that were going back and forth.
Yeah, that was
and
all me, man.
Beating the combined APM of myself and Glaba at the same time. All you.
Yeah, well, I mean, you were arguing back and forth. Like, Glabo would get the workers, and then you'd put them back, and then it was you were not working together. So that went into mine and AC's advantage.
Still, I mean, you have to be really, really good to even come up with that advantage in the first place. You know, like, okay, yeah, that's a small opening, but there's not too many people who are like, let's destroy this now. All right, so that's your team, is it?
Yep.
So I've got a question now for you. Okay, so I want you to just be brutally honest. Are you ready?
I am ready.
Okay, so why not me? I play a lot of Hero Arena 3v3. I play a lot of supports, a couple of carries. Come on, man, just hit me with it.
Be real here. I thought I was making my team and you were making your team.
Oh, okay. So we're gonna do it this way. Ready? Okay, so I can't use Derpo, Death Squad, AC, or
Johnson.
Not McSwiggle, poor guy, JohnsonYan. Oh boy. I'm actually gonna pick Fax Tolgia, because he's played a lot of Hero Arena 3v3. Human, and I would make Human our tank, but not something like the King, where he could accidentally spawn in the wrong way and then it would body block our own units.
Yeah, that's the thing.
If you were a tank, yeah, it would have to be something like, what would be a good tank? See, that's the problem, is that I have the tank as a role, but I actually would go for a different style, So I played a couple of games, and I actually think that if you get the synergies really well, this is a really good team. So I remember playing Medic, Mediator, Dragonfire, because here's the problem as I see it with Dragonfire. He's secretly a DPS, but he's far too fragile to actually be worth anything as a DPS, because you could just ignore him, even supports can chunk him down. But if he has a Mediator behind him, making sure that he never runs out of mana to do damage, and he has a Medic behind him to make sure that he is trading more than evenly at all times, then he actually can 1v2. So, Fax, Tolgia, Human, It's too bad I can't grab you. That would be the ultimate injustice. I just grabbed you. All right, I coach your team, but now you're on my team, so you had to beat the team you're coaching. Good luck, Derpo. Probably Glaba.
Ew.
Yeah. No, I'm being serious. I would. Because I think it's been a while since I've done Hero Arena 3v3. Those are the names that I remember that have not already been sucked up. So whereas you'll have to, well, yeah, Death Squad, you know, Death, he has good micro. We have to teach him this and AC. You don't know a whole lot about Hero Arena 3v3, but come on, we're gonna put you in this. Yeah, I actually think I don't know if we would win. I'd actually love to see this matchup now. I'm not sure.
I doubt AC would agree to this.
Sure of, yeah. But what I am sure of is that I wouldn't have to spend as much time teaching the other, you know, my 3 people, the game essentially. Like there might be some we might win essentially for silly reasons, you know, just knowing more of the champions. You know what I think though is that AC, I actually think he's a waste to put as your tank. I would put him on something like Sieger, because Sieger, the heroes, the workers blow up and do, I think, 15 damage in a small area around wherever they blow up, and I think that AC could just go ham with that. He would just re-rally where they automatically spawn in such a way that you'd get massive map vision, and if anyone took a break for any reason, he could just destroy them. You know, he would lock up chokes in such a way that, you know, if you start by sieging them far back away from you and then get closer, you could block off entire lanes and sections like that. So the fact that you've got AC on tank is fantastic. So if we can get this matchup to work, that would be great. I would love to see this. It would be sick. Okay, so I think actually that covers it for Hero Arena 3v3, but not for the topic as a whole, because we have this cool thing called Hero Arena Ice. And I'm assuming you've played a bit of it?
I've played a couple matches, and I've played as the Lich Necromancer guy.
So for those of you who don't know, Hero Arena 3v3 is pretty simple. You pick a hero, you have teammates who pick a hero, you go in and you fight. But Hero Arena Ice is a little more complicated. So you all pick heroes, but then you can also go around the map killing these totems that give you gold. And then you use that gold to buy more items, to kill more things. It's a bit... There's more gameplay to it. Would you actually like Hero Arena Ice more? Do you think it's better than Hero Arena 3v3?
Well, I'd say it's about even, but because I'm more used to Hero Arena 3v3, it's sort of like meh to me. But it's pretty good.
Okay. Yeah, some of the skin work is actually amazing.
Yeah, I lost the game because I was just like staring at my skin.
Like the Lich in particular has this custom skin with his robes, and then he raises his hands to do the animation, and he summons these little shadow blot things that look like Heartless from Kingdom Hearts, and they just wander around as shades. Like, I think the balance is a bit over the place, but you can't deny a lot of the work that was put into the skins and some of the abilities. It's pretty impressive. So something I just wanted to get your thoughts on that, because it was, the goal of it was, you know, to make a better version of Hero Arena 3v3. And here's something I will give to Hero Arena Ice. There is a massive balance problem. Actually, it's a gameplay feature. It's not a problem, right? It's a feature. It's intended. So, obviously, we were talking about this earlier.
At least there's no
when you start... Yeah. When we start out the gate in Hero Arena 3v3, there are these blocks that stop you from breaking the bounds and moving across the map. So 2 problems here. The first is that you have heroes that can do short teleports, like you were saying, like the Reaper, like the Deceiver, and they can just go over that and break the bounds of where they're supposed to be at what point in the game. The bigger problem is that there's actually a side advantage. So if you're on the top side, you can get to the second level height platform in the middle before the blue team can. Do you think that this is a problem that needs to be fixed by balancing, or does it make the game better? What's your take on it? Because most people, as far as I can tell, until they play about 10-15 games, they really test it out, they don't know how good red side is for having that advantage of high ground.
Yeah, I'd say that needs to be fixed, because if red team like quickly spawns the heroes, picks the heroes, and then rushes to the middle, they have that early game, like instant early game map control, and blue team's sitting over still deciding what hero to pick. And so while like blue team's trying to get up to the middle ground, red team's like killing the totems. They're already there. They're setting up position farm. Because like, all right, here's a so like red team controls the hill and blue team has no idea they're up there. So they're walking up, and it's a skinny ramp. It didn't get enough milk. And red team consists of like that robot dude, the tank defender dude. Once somebody walks off that ramp, the Lich can spawn the shade behind them and body block them, and the robot dude can just burst to, which is a major problem.
Yeah, the same thing happens not just in Ice, but in Hero Arena 3v3. You know, it takes a different form. You have someone who, like the Revealer, puts an invisible ward behind the person that they can't see and can't break out of, and then they just have to go through in a 1v3 and just get burst down. I think that the biggest thing is that in Hero Arena Ice, there are other objectives on the map. So even though there is a, I think, pretty glaring disadvantage for the blue side, there are other things on the map they can go do. So if they're not contesting the center, they can go get more gold. In Hero Arena 3v3, there are no more objectives. The objective is to kill your opponent. And so if your opponent is sitting on an uncontestable high ground, you know, does that break it entirely? Does that just make the game worse? What would you do to fix it?
Get good.
Get good? Okay, that's all I heard was get good. I was like, okay, that's one answer. We haven't heard that.
I would
answer
say
before.
like balance out your team, get somebody with good mobility. Preferably always have someone on your team, like maybe the DPS or the carry, to have like a short range teleport to like get the middle ground early or contest it if the enemy team also has someone with a short range. So like then you know like, all right, the enemy team at least has this, and if your team hasn't chosen yet, then you can either quickly pick a counter to that one, or if you already have one, just go whatever.
So we touched a bit on it with our hypothetical teams. I have to know. So do you think there are enough people, and would you personally be interested in maybe a Hero Arena 3v3 tournament? It wouldn't be for prize money. It wouldn't be something serious like that. But do you think there's enough interest to actually have a tournament? Would you be interested in watching such a thing?
Yeah, I most definitely would. We could have the LittleWarGame version of Team Liquid or Fnatic. It'd be interesting to see like what strategies players come up with. And he's saying that I'll mess up and he's distracting.
Yeah, I understand. So for those of you who don't know, Human, who I picked on my team, who is supposed to be, you know, has got my back, he is just wrecking Derpo in the chat right now. So come on, Human.
No.
Be a decent human being. I'm lucky. I can
Don't
put
you mean
OBS
be like a
right
decent
over all
human
his
being?
messages.
Eh?
Oh, the joke was there. The joke was there. Okay.
Yeah,
So you would be interested in seeing what the meta actually looks like, and maybe the map would get some more love as a result, right?
Maybe it'd actually get updated again. Because it hasn't been updated in a while, has it? Like, I think
Yeah, not to my knowledge.
Yeah.
It kind of has that League of Legends thing going on where there are so many possible heroes that you would have to do a lot of testing and a lot of playing to, above what we're doing here where we have kind of a feel for it, to get a stronger sense of this is imbalanced, this should be buffed, this should be nerfed, etc. You know, patch notes or anything like that. But going back to the idea of tournaments, I think, so here's my theory on why tournaments haven't been doing so well, as of late anyways, for LittleWarGame, which is there are clearly defined, I would say, like top 4 players, top 5 players, and the problem is if you have, like most of the time, you want a tournament because it's people of your rough skill level, or you want to see who is the best. But there's no point for, let's say, as a tournament with 16 people. There's no point in, LE12 or regular edition Little War Game in having players, I would say 5 through 16, show up because they know if, unless they don't know, they know that they're not going to win. Therefore, they're not going to get anything out of it. There's not circuit points, there's not cash, there's not in-game currency, there's not badges for getting a certain place, and so people are discouraged. They can play their custom games and figure out who's good and who's bad, and where the sort of the sorting hierarchy is for skill. Now, I think actually that's an advantage that these Hero Arena 3v3 tournaments would have, is that I don't actually know who is, what would be the top 5 players that you would absolutely want. Do you think that would play into making more people show up to these, or is that wishful thinking?
I think Human succeeded in his job in distracting me.
All right, Human. Good job. You distracted the coach. Now our team's going to win. Good job. Good roleplay.
So, I only heard the last part.
Okay, so essentially, it boils down to, do you think that this unknown quantity of who is actually good and what is good in Hero Arena 3v3 would make more people try for these tournaments? Or is that just wishful thinking?
So, I think it would go both ways. It would discourage some people because they like to know what the meta is, what's good, who's the top, and then some people like to discover like new metas. Like they like to not know who's good because if they do, they might leave, and then the other 2 people might be.
Okay. So, with that, that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about for Hero Arena 3v3. You have anyone you want to shout out to or call out? You've already gotten JohnsonYan, and McSwiggle has been, he's going to be investigated by aliens for probing from Google Galaxy, just getting the read on him. So, is there anything else you want to say, or do you have any thoughts about the game, maybe outside of this mod? Anything you want to share?
Mech needs a buff. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Mech needs a buff. Got it. So +3 armor for every armor upgrade. You heard it here first, folks.
No.
Derpo's on board.
I would say, like, at least not like a buff, just like a new unit. Cough Blue. I would also like to shout out to Invincible. Please come back to Little War. This game kinda is boring with that. No offense, I know you're trying to keep this up and alive.
No, it's cool. There's a lot of people like Invincible. Like, I think Little War Game would be better if they, just came back. Where are you? You're on the internet somewhere. I hope this finds you. Return. The balance is really good, and we've got great mods. Snakes are OP, but that's a small issue. We'll fix that. So with that, all right, that's it.